The nursery was painted in soft lavender, decorated with butterflies and clouds that Sofia Martinez had carefully stenciled herself during her pregnancy. She'd imagined countless bedtime stories she'd read here, lullabies she'd sing, and eventually, the sweet sound of her daughter's voice saying, "Good night, Mommy." But 3 years had passed since Emma's birth, and that nursery had never heard the voice Sofia had dreamed of. 3-year-old Emma Martinez had never spoken a word. Not a single syllable. Not Mama when Sofia held her for the first time. Not Dada when Carlos walked through the door after work. Not even a cry for help when she fell and scraped her knee. The silence was deafening, suffocating, and it wrapped around the Martinez household like a thick fog that never lifted. Sofia remembered the exact moment her worry transformed into panic. Emma was 18 months old, and they were at a playgroup in their Portland neighborhood. All the other toddlers were babbling, some forming words, others stringing together simple sentences. One little boy pointed at a toy truck and shouted, "Mine." Another girl called for her mother with perfect clarity. But Emma just sat in the corner, playing silently with blocks, her beautiful dark eyes observing everything while her lips remained sealed. "She'll talk when she's ready," the other mothers assured Sofia, their voices dripping with the kind of confidence that came from having children who met every milestone on schedule. Einstein didn't talk until he was 4, but their words felt hollow, like bandages placed over a wound that kept bleeding. Carlos tried to stay optimistic. "She's just taking her time, mi amor," he'd say, pulling Sofia close when she cried at night. "Our Emma is special. She's thinking deep thoughts, planning what her first words will be." He'd laugh, trying to lighten the mood. "Maybe she'll come out with a full sentence, like mother, father. I've been observing your parenting techniques, and I have some suggestions." Sofia wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe him. But as the months crawled by and Emma's second birthday came and went without a word, the fear became impossible to ignore. They started with their pediatrician, Dr. Morrison, a kind woman in her 50s who had practiced medicine for 3 decades. She ran tests, hearing tests, developmental assessments, physical examinations. Emma's hearing was perfect. Her motor skills were advanced for her age. She made eye contact, showed affection, played appropriately with toys. But she didn't speak. "Let's give it 6 more months," Dr. Morrison suggested. "Some children are late bloomers with language." Those 6 months felt like 6 years. Sofia became obsessed, recording every grunt, every sigh, every small sound Emma made, hoping to detect the beginning of speech. She bought every book on childhood development, joined online forums for parents of late talkers, and lay awake at night, Googling symptoms and conditions until her eyes burned. When Emma turned 3 and still hadn't spoken, Dr. Morrison referred them to a specialist. Dr. Richard Chon was a pediatric neurologist at Oregon Health and Science University, and his office walls were covered with certificates and awards that should have been reassuring, but somehow made Sofia more nervous. After weeks of comprehensive testing, MRIs, genetic screenings, psychological evaluations, Dr. Chon delivered the diagnosis that would define their lives: selective mutism. "It's an anxiety disorder," he explained, his hands folded on his desk, his expression gentle but serious. "Emma is capable of speech. Physically, neurologically, she has everything she needs to talk. But severe anxiety prevents her from speaking in most situations. It's not a choice she's making. It's a genuine psychological barrier." Sofia felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. An anxiety disorder? Her baby girl was suffering from anxiety at 3 years old? What kind of world inflicted that on a child? "What causes it?" Carlos asked, his voice tight. "Did we do something wrong?" "No," Dr. Chon assured them quickly. "Selective mutism often has a genetic component. It's linked to social anxiety and sometimes sensory processing differences. You didn't cause this, but we can work to help Emma overcome it. They tried everything. Speech therapy twice a week with a woman named Ms. Jennifer, who had an office full of puppets and picture cards. Play therapy with Dr. Susan Park, who specialized in childhood anxiety. Occupational therapy to address potential sensory issues. They created a Safe Words program where Emma could earn rewards for attempting to speak. They used sign language, communication boards, and tablets with voice apps. Nothing worked. Emma remained locked in her silent world, watching, observing, clearly understanding everything around her, but unable or too terrified to speak. She communicated through gestures, through pointing, through the expressive use of her eyes. The family developed their own system. One tug on Sophia's sleeve meant I'm hungry. 2 tugs meant I'm scared. A specific look toward the door meant I want to go outside. It was functional, but it wasn't enough. Sophia wanted to hear her daughter laugh out loud. She wanted to know what Emma was thinking, feeling, dreaming about. She wanted the million questions that 3-year-olds asked. Why is the sky blue? Where do stars go in the daytime? Do dogs have feelings? The silence became a presence in their home, an invisible member of the family that nobody could ignore. It sat at the dinner table. It tucked Emma into bed at night. It followed them to the grocery store, where other parents chatted with their talkative children, while Emma pointed mutely at what she wanted. Sophia stopped going to playgroups. She couldn't bear the pitying looks from other mothers or the awkward attempts at conversation. Has she said anything yet? They'd ask, their voices hushed, as if discussing a terminal illness. When Sophia shook her head, they'd quickly change the subject, uncomfortable with her pain. Carlos threw himself into work, staying late at his job as a civil engineer. It wasn't that he didn't care. Sophia knew he cared desperately. But he didn't know how to fix this, and Carlos was a man who solved problems. This problem had no blueprint, no equation, no clear solution. Family gatherings became torture. Emma's grandmother would try to coax words out of her with bribes. Say cookie, and you can have one, Mia. Just one word. But Emma would just shake her head and walk away. Uncle Roberto, who'd had too much beer at a 4th of July party, had loudly declared, "In my day, kids who didn't talk got a swat on the behind." That got them talking real quick. Sophia had asked him to leave, her hands shaking with fury. At night, after Emma was asleep, Sophia would stand in the doorway of her daughter's room and watch her breathe. Sometimes she'd cry silently, her heart breaking with the weight of all the unspoken words trapped inside her child. Other times she'd feel angry at the universe, at God, at the unfairness of it all. Why Emma? Why her sweet, beautiful, gentle daughter who loved butterflies and strawberries and being tickled? Why did she have to carry this burden? By June of 2023, Sophia had entered a new phase, resignation. Not acceptance, she would never accept this, but a grim understanding that this might be their reality forever. Emma might never speak. She might go through life communicating in other ways, and they would adapt, and that would have to be enough. But deep down, in a place Sophia barely acknowledged even to herself, a tiny flame of hope still flickered. Maybe, somehow, something would change. Maybe a miracle was waiting just around the corner. She had no idea how right she was. The morning of June 17th, 2023, started like any other Saturday in the Martinez household. Sophia woke at 6:30 a.m. to find Emma already awake, sitting cross-legged on her bed, arranging her stuffed animals in a precise line. No good morning greeting, no sleepy call for Mommy. Just silence as always. Sophia's heart felt heavy as she went through the morning routine. Breakfast was prepared Emma's favorite blueberry pancakes, carefully cut into small pieces. Emma pointed to the orange juice, and Sophia poured it. 2 tugs on her sleeve meant Emma wanted her hair in braids today. They'd developed this wordless dance over 3 years, and while it worked, it never stopped feeling like a loss. Carlos emerged from the bedroom, holding a bright yellow flyer, his eyes more alive than Sophia had seen them in weeks. "Look at this," he said, waving the paper with unexpected enthusiasm. "Community Safety Day at Laurelhurst Park. The Portland Police Department is doing demonstrations. Meet and greets," and he paused for emphasis. "They're bringing the K9 unit." Sophia barely glanced up from wiping syrup off Emma's chin. So we should go." Carlos set the flyer on the table in front of her. The header read, "Meet your local heroes," with pictures of smiling police officers, fire trucks, and a German shepherd in a police vest. "Are you serious?" Sophia's voice was flat. "Emma hates crowds. You know what happened last time we went to a community event? She had a meltdown. We had to leave early. And she didn't sleep for 2 nights. That had been the disastrous Easter egg hunt in April. The crowd, the noise, the excited children running and screaming, it had overwhelmed Emma completely. She'd curled into a ball, covered her ears, and wouldn't move. Sophia had carried her to the car while strangers stared, some with sympathy, others with judgment. I know, Carlos said quickly. "But this is different." "How is it different?" "I can't explain it." He sat down next to Emma, who was now drawing circles on her napkin with a purple crayon. "I just have this feeling. What if there's something there that could help her?" Sophia wanted to scream. She was so tired of what ifs. What if this therapy worked? What if that specialist had answers? What if? Every hope had led to disappointment, and she didn't think her heart could take another one. "We've tried everything, Carlos," she said quietly, aware that Emma was watching them both with those knowing eyes. "Therapy, medications, specialists from Seattle. That woman who claimed crystals could unlock her voice. Don't remind me about the crystal lady," Carlos muttered. That had been a particularly low point, born of desperation. The woman had charged them $300 to wave rose quartz around Emma's head while chanting. Emma had looked at her mother with an expression that clearly said, "Really, Mom?" "My point is," Sophia continued, "I can't keep getting my hopes up. It's killing me." Carlos reached across the table and took her hand. His palms were rough from his engineering work, but his touch was gentle. "One more try," he said softly. "Just one. If nothing happens, I promise I won't push anymore. We'll just focus on helping Emma live her best life, exactly as she is. But please, Sophia, let's try this one last thing." Sophia looked at Emma, who had stopped drawing and was watching her parents intently. There was something in her daughter's expression, curiosity, maybe? Or was Sophia just projecting what she wanted to see? "Fine," Sophia finally said. "But if she gets upset, we leave immediately. No pushing. No, just 5 more minutes. The second she's uncomfortable, we're out." "Agreed? Agreed?" Carlos broke into a smile and scooped Emma up, spinning her around. Emma didn't laugh. She never did, but her eyes crinkled at the corners in what Sophia had learned to recognize as joy. 2 hours later, Sophia was already regretting her decision. She'd dressed Emma in her favorite yellow sundress, the one with tiny white flowers embroidered on the hem. Emma had insisted on wearing her red sneakers, the ones that lit up when she walked, and Sophia had carefully braided her daughter's dark hair. As they drove toward Laurelhurst Park, Sophia's anxiety grew with every block. What was she thinking? This was going to be a disaster. The park would be packed with people, loud with music and announcements over megaphones. Emma would panic, and they'd have to carry her out while everyone stared. And Sophia would cry in the car again. "And we're here," Carlos announced, pulling into a parking spot. Through the windshield, Sophia could see crowds of families scattered across the sprawling green lawn. Colorful tents and booths dotted the landscape. A fire truck sat in the center, surrounded by excited children. The sound of cheerful music drifted through the air. Emma pressed her face against the window, taking it all in. Sophia couldn't read her expression. Was that fear or interest? "Ready?" Carlos asked, looking at both of them. Sophia took a deep breath. "Ready?" They walked through the park entrance, Emma holding both her parents' hands, forming a small chain. Sophia felt her daughter's grip tighten as they entered the crowd. Her protective instincts kicked in immediately. She was scanning for exit routes, planning the fastest way out when Emma inevitably became overwhelmed. The park was even more chaotic than Sophia had imagined. Children ran in every direction, their voices rising in excited shrieks. A group of firefighters demonstrated equipment, sirens blaring. Volunteers handed out free hot dogs and cotton candy. A DJ played pop music from speakers that seemed far too loud. Emma's steps slowed. Her grip on Sophia's hand became almost painful. "Maybe this was a mistake," Sophia said to Carlos, raising her voice over the noise. But Carlos was looking at something across the lawn. "Wait, look over there." Sophia followed his gaze. In a quieter corner of the park, away from the main commotion, she saw a roped-off area with a sign that read, "Canine Unit Demonstration." A small crowd had gathered, but it was calmer, more controlled than the chaos around them. And there, sitting perfectly still beside a uniformed police officer, was a magnificent German Shepherd. "Let's just check it out," Carlos suggested. "If Emma doesn't like it, we leave. But look, it's quieter over there." They started walking in that direction, navigating through the crowd. Sophia kept waiting for Emma to pull back, to signal that she wanted to leave, but her daughter kept moving forward. In fact, Emma's steps seemed to quicken. As they got closer, Sophia could see the dog more clearly. He was large, probably 80 or 90 pounds, with a thick coat of tan and black fur. His ears stood at attention, alert but not aggressive. The officer beside him, a man in his 40s with kind eyes, was explaining something to the gathered families about canine training. They were about 20 feet away when Emma suddenly stopped walking. Just stopped, frozen in place, her eyes locked on the German Shepherd. "Emma?" Sophia knelt down to her daughter's eye level. "Sweetie, do you want to leave?" But Emma wasn't looking at her. She was staring at the dog with an intensity Sophia had never seen before. And then, slowly, Emma released her parents' hands. "Emma?" Carlos's voice was uncertain. Emma took one step forward, then another. She was walking toward the dog, independently, deliberately, as if drawn by an invisible string. Sophia's heart hammered in her chest. Emma never approached strangers. She never walked away from them in public. She certainly never approached large animals. "Should we stop her?" Sophia whispered urgently to Carlos. But Carlos shook his head, his eyes wide with wonder. "Look at her face." Sophia did. And what she saw took her breath away. Emma's expression wasn't fearful. It wasn't anxious or overwhelmed. There was something else, their recognition, maybe. Connection? Emma continued walking toward the canine demonstration area, and Sophia and Carlos followed a few steps behind, not wanting to break whatever spell had taken hold of their daughter. The officer with the German Shepherd noticed the small girl approaching. He held up one hand in a friendly gesture, signaling Emma to stop where she was safe, and bent down to her level. But it was the dog's reaction that made Sophia's breath catch. The German Shepherd's ears perked forward, his tail gave a gentle wag, and his dark, intelligent eyes focused completely on Emma, as if she were the only person in the entire park. Emma stopped at the rope barrier, just a few feet from the dog. She tilted her head, stunning him. The dog tilted his head back, mirroring her gesture. And in that moment, Sophia knew. She didn't know what was about to happen, but she knew it was something important. Something that would change everything. Her hands trembled as she pulled out her phone, her motherly instinct telling her to record whatever came next. "Hi there," the officer said gently to Emma. "This is Rex. He's very friendly. Would you like to meet him?" Emma looked at the officer, then back at the dog. Sophia held her breath, waiting for her daughter to shake her head no and run back to them. But Emma didn't run. Instead, she nodded yes. And that simple nod felt like the beginning of a miracle. Officer Derek Thompson had been a K-9 handler for 12 years, and in that time, he'd seen his partners react to thousands of people. Rex, his current partner, was a 7-year-old German Shepherd who had served with distinction in narcotics detection, search and rescue, and community outreach. Rex was trained to remain calm under pressure, to follow commands with precision, and to read human behavior with uncanny accuracy. But Thompson had never seen Rex react to anyone the way he was reacting to this little girl in the yellow dress. The moment Emma had stopped at the rope barrier, Rex's entire demeanor had shifted. His ears, which had been at a relaxed half-mast during the demonstration, suddenly perked forward with laser focus. His tail, which had been still, began a slow, gentle wag, not the excited thrashing of a dog seeing his owner, but something more deliberate, more purposeful. His dark eyes locked onto Emma's with an intensity that made Thompson pause mid-sentence in his explanation to the crowd. "Well," Thompson said, recovering quickly and addressing Emma with a warm smile, "it looks like Rex has taken a special interest in you. That's unusual. He's usually very professional during demonstrations." He chuckled, trying to lighten the moment, but he was genuinely intrigued. Rex's behavior was unprecedented. Emma stood perfectly still, her small hands gripping the rope barrier, her eyes never leaving Rex's face. Thompson glanced over at the parents he assumed were hers, a man and woman standing a few feet back, both looking like they might burst into tears at any moment. The mother had her phone out, hands shaking so badly, Thompson wondered if she'd be able to record anything. Something was happening here. Thompson could feel it in his bones, that sixth sense that came from years of police work and reading situations. This wasn't just a child interested in a police dog. This was something more. "Would you like to come closer?" Thompson asked Emma gently. "Rex is very gentle, I promise. He's helped lots of kids feel safe." Emma nodded, that same deliberate nod, but she didn't move forward immediately. She seemed to be gathering courage, taking deep breaths that made her small chest rise and fall beneath her yellow dress. Thompson made a decision. He gave Rex a hand signal, one that meant gentle approach, child mode. It was a command they'd developed for working with traumatized children or victims in crisis situations. Rex understood immediately. The German Shepherd slowly lowered himself into a sphinx position, making himself smaller, less intimidating. Then, with Thompson's permission, Rex Army crawled forward about 2 feet, closing some of the distance between himself and Emma, but still giving her space and control. The crowd that had gathered for the demonstration had gone quiet. Everyone seemed to sense that something special was unfolding. Parents pulled their own children back slightly, giving this little girl room, creating a bubble of space around her, and Emma watched Rex crawl toward her, and something remarkable happened. Her face, which had been tight with concentration, suddenly softened. The corners of her mouth turned up, not quite a smile, but close. Her hands released their death grip on the rope. "It's okay," Thompson said softly. "You can come under the rope if you'd like. Rex would really like to meet you properly." Emma looked back at her parents. The mother, Sophia, Thompson would later learn her name, gave a tiny nod, even though her face was streaked with tears. The father had his hand over his mouth, his eyes wide with something that looked like hope and terror mixed together. Emma ducked under the rope barrier. The movement was so smooth, so confident, that it surprised everyone, probably including Emma herself. She walked forward slowly, her light-up sneakers flashing red with each step, until she was standing directly in front of Rex. Rex remained in his down position, patient as a saint, his tail still wagging that slow, gentle rhythm. Thompson had trained Rex well, but this level of restraint and awareness went beyond training. Rex understood, on some instinctual level, that this child needed something special from him. Emma knelt down in the grass, her yellow dress pooling around her. She was now at eye level with Rex, their faces perhaps 18 inches apart. The little girl studied the dog with those intense, observant eyes that seemed far too old for a 3-year-old. Thompson held his breath. The entire crowd held their breath. Then Emma did something that made Thompson's heart skip. She slowly extended her hand, not toward Rex's head or body, but palm up, in a gesture of offering. It was the universal sign of peace, of friendship, of I come in trust. Rex responded by extending his nose to her palm, gently sniffing, his warm breath surely tickling her skin. Emma's eyes widened, and for the first time, Thompson saw her truly smile, a full, genuine smile that transformed her entire face. "Good boy, Rex," Thompson whispered, though the command was unnecessary. Rex knew exactly what he was doing. Emma's other hand came up, and with exquisite slowness, she placed it on top of Rex's head, between his ears. Her tiny fingers buried themselves in his thick fur, and Rex, this trained police dog who had taken down suspects and located narcotics worth millions, closed his eyes and leaned ever so slightly into her touch. It was the most tender thing Thompson had witnessed in his entire career. The mother behind them made a sound something between a sob and a gasp. Thompson glanced back and saw her recording on her phone, tears streaming down her face, her whole body shaking. The father had his arm around her, and he was crying too. What was this child's story? Thompson wondered. Why were her parents reacting like this was a miracle? Kids pet police dogs at these events all the time. But something told him this was different. Emma leaned closer to Rex, her face now just inches from the dog's ear. She was so close that Thompson couldn't see her lips, couldn't tell if she was speaking or just breathing near Rex's head. But Rex's ears twitched. His eyes opened, and his tail wagging increased slightly, becoming more animated. Thompson's scalp tingled. Had she just whispered something? No, impossible. Maybe she'd just exhaled, and Rex had felt her breath. Emma pulled back slightly, looking into Rex's eyes again. And Rex looked back with an expression Thompson had never seen on his partner's face before, pure, unconditional understanding. Then Emma leaned in again, this time closer to Rex's other ear, and Thompson saw it clearly. Her lips moved. They definitely moved. She was saying something, actually saying something to his dog. Rex's response was immediate. His tail began wagging harder, and he made a soft sound, not quite a whine, not quite a grunt, but a noise of acknowledgement, of response, as if answering her. Oh my God! Thompson heard the mother gasp behind him. She's talking. She's talking to him. Thompson's mind raced. This child didn't speak? Was that what made this moment so extraordinary? Emma sat back on her heels, her hands still buried in Rex's fur, and looked up at Thompson with eyes that were brimming with tears. Happy tears, he thought. Or maybe tears of relief. What did you say to him, sweetheart? Thompson asked gently, his voice barely above a whisper. He didn't want to break whatever magic was happening, but he had to know. Can you tell me? Emma's mouth opened, then closed. She looked down at Rex, as if seeking permission or courage. Rex, brilliant dog that he was, licked her cheek one quick, gentle swipe of his tongue, And that seemed to be exactly what Emma needed. She looked back up at Thompson, took a shaky breath, and spoke. Her voice was small and slightly hoarse, as if unused to forming words, but it was clear and real and absolutely there. "He has kind eyes," Emma said, each word deliberate and precious. "Like my daddy. He makes the scary go away." The world stopped spinning. Thompson felt his own eyes filling with tears, and he was a grown man, a police officer, someone who'd seen terrible things and kept his composure. But this was different. Behind Emma, her mother collapsed to her knees in the grass, sobbing openly now. Her father stood frozen, his face a mask of shock and joy and disbelief. Thompson's throat was tight, but he managed to speak. "You're right," he said softly. "Rex does have kind eyes. And you know what? He thinks you're pretty special too." Emma smiled again, wider this time, and turned back to Rex. "Can I hug him?" she asked, her voice gaining strength. "Will he let me? Will he be my friend?" Thompson could barely see through his own tears. "Yes," he managed. "Rex would love that. He would absolutely love to be your friend." Emma wrapped her small arms around Rex's neck, burying her face in his fur. And Rex, this professional, highly trained police dog, did something Thompson would never forget. He wrapped his head around her, tucking his snout over her shoulder, and held her, actually held her, in what could only be described as a dog's embrace. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, but Thompson barely heard it. He was watching this little girl and his partner, this impossible, beautiful connection between them. And he knew with absolute certainty that his life and Rex's purpose had just changed forever. This was why they did this work. Not for the drug busts or the arrests or the commendations. For this. For moments when a gentle dog and a silent child found each other and created a miracle. Sofia Martinez's legs gave out beneath her. One moment she was standing, phone clutched in trembling hands, recording the impossible scene before her. The next, she was on her knees in the grass of Laurelhurst Park, her entire body convulsing with sobs that came from somewhere so deep inside her, she didn't know that place existed. Her daughter was speaking. Emma was speaking. 3 years. 3 years of silence, of wondering, of praying, of crying herself to sleep, wondering if she'd ever hear her baby's voice. 3 years of specialists and therapists and well-meaning relatives with their useless advice. 3 years of watching other children chatter and laugh while Emma remained locked in her wordless prison. And now, in the span of 5 minutes, everything had changed. "Did you hear that?" Sofia gasped to Carlos, though she knew he had. "Did you hear her?" She spoke. Carlos, she spoke. Carlos stood frozen, his face pale, his eyes locked on Emma. His hands hung at his sides, fingers twitching like he wanted to reach out, but was afraid to move. Afraid that any motion might shatter this fragile miracle. "I heard her," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Mi Dios, I heard her." The crowd that had gathered for the canine demonstration had grown considerably. Word had spread through the park that something extraordinary was happening, and parents and children were drifting over, forming a loose circle around the scene. But they kept their distance, sensing the sacredness of the moment. Emma remained kneeling in front of Rex, her arms wrapped around the German shepherd's neck, her face pressed into his fur. Officer Thompson crouched beside them, one hand resting gently on Rex's back, his own face streaked with tears he didn't bother to hide. "Emma," Sofia called out, her voice breaking. "Emma, baby." Emma lifted her head from Rex's fur and turned to look at her mother. Her face was wet with tears, but she was smiling, really, truly smiling in a way Sofia had never seen before. It was the smile of someone who'd been drowning and had just broken the surface of the water, gasping in that first precious breath of air. "Mama," Emma said, and that single word hit Sofia like a physical blow. "Mama, Rex is nice. He's so nice." Sophia's vision blurred completely. She crawled forward on her hands and knees, not caring about the grass stains on her white capris, not caring that dozens of strangers were watching, not caring about anything except getting to her daughter. "Yes, baby," Sophia sobbed. "Yes, Rex is nice. You're talking. You're talking to Mama." Emma nodded enthusiastically, her hands still buried in Rex's fur, as if the dog were an anchor, keeping her tethered to this new reality, where words were possible. "He listens," she said, her voice gaining confidence with each syllable. "He doesn't make me scared. He just ... listens." Carlos finally unfroze, stumbling forward to join his wife and daughter. He dropped to his knees beside them, and for a moment, the three of them formed a small huddle, with Rex at the center, like a furry guardian angel. "Mi hija," Carlos whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Your voice is so beautiful. Say something else. Please, say anything." Emma looked at her father, really looked at him, and Sophia saw something shift in her daughter's expression. It was as if Emma was seeing him clearly for the first time, understanding that she could now give him something she'd never been able to give before. "I love you, Daddy," Emma said, the words tumbling out like water, reaching a dam. "I always loved you," but the words were stuck. They were stuck inside, and they were scared to come out. "But Rex ... She turned back to the dog. "Rex made them brave." Carlos broke. This strong, steady man who'd held their family together through 3 years of heartbreak, who'd stayed optimistic when Sophia had lost all hope, who'd insisted they come to this park today, he buried his face in his hands and wept like a child. Officer Thompson, watching this family reunion, felt his throat tighten. He'd been a cop for 18 years, had witnessed births and deaths, reunions and tragedies, but nothing had ever affected him quite like this. He looked down at Rex, who was watching the proceedings with calm, intelligent eyes, his tail still wagging that gentle rhythm. "Good boy," Thompson whispered to his partner. "Such a good boy." Rex's ears perked at the praise, but he didn't move away from Emma. It was as if he understood that his job wasn't finished, that this little girl still needed him. A woman from the crowd, a grandmother with silver hair and kind eyes, stepped forward hesitantly. "Excuse me," she said softly to Thompson. "I don't mean to intrude, but has that little girl never spoken before?" Thompson shook his head. "I don't think so. At least, that's what it seems like from her parents' reaction." The grandmother pressed her hand to her chest, her own eyes filling with tears. "That's a miracle," she whispered. "That's a genuine miracle." And maybe it was. Thompson had never been particularly religious, but he was having a hard time finding any other word to describe what he'd just witnessed. Sophia pulled out her phone again, realizing that the video had stopped recording at some point. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it. "Emma, sweetie, can you say something for the camera? For Grandma and Grandpa? They're going to want to hear your voice." Emma looked at the phone, then back at Rex, as if asking permission. Rex, impossibly, seemed to give a tiny nod. "Hi, Grandma and Grandpa," Emma said, her voice clear and strong. "This is me. This is Emma. I can talk now. I found my voice. His name is Rex, and he helped me find it." Sophia lowered the phone, unable to continue recording through her tears. She looked at Officer Thompson, this stranger who'd unknowingly facilitated a miracle. "Thank you," she managed to say. "Thank you so much." "I didn't do anything," Thompson said honestly. "This was all Rex and Emma." "What? What happens now?" Carlos asked, his arm around Sophia's shoulders. "Can we? I mean, is there any way we could?" He trailed off, unable to articulate what he was trying to ask. Thompson understood anyway. You want to know if Emma can see Rex again? Yes, Sophia said immediately. Please. I know this is a lot to ask, but if this is what helped her speak, if Rex is the key to... Yes, Thompson interrupted, making a decision that felt as natural as breathing. Absolutely yes. I don't fully understand what happened here today, but I know it's important. Rex and I would be honored to work with Emma. Emma, who had been listening quietly, suddenly threw her arms around Rex again. Did you hear that? She told the dog excitedly. You can be my friend. We can see each other again. Rex's tail wagged harder, and he let out a soft woof, something he never did during demonstrations. It was as if he was answering her, agreeing to the arrangement. Thompson pulled out his card and handed it to Carlos. Call me tomorrow. We'll set something up. I don't know exactly what this will look like, but we'll figure it out together. Carlos took the card with shaking hands, staring at it like it was made of gold. Officer Derek Thompson, he read aloud. Portland Police K-9 Unit. He looked up, his eyes red but hopeful. We'll call tomorrow, first thing. The crowd, which had been respectfully quiet during the family's emotional moment, began to applaud. Softly at first, then growing louder. People were crying, smiling, taking photos and videos. A local news reporter, who'd been covering the community event, was frantically speaking into her phone, clearly calling her station with news of something extraordinary. Emma, still kneeling beside Rex, looked around at all the people watching her. In the past, this much attention would have sent her into a panic. But now, with Rex beside her, she seemed calm, protected. Are they clapping for me? She asked Thompson, her voice curious rather than anxious. They're clapping for you, Thompson confirmed. And for Rex, you two did something pretty special today. Emma considered this, then leaned close to Rex's ear one more time. This time, Thompson was close enough to hear what she whispered. Thank you for making me brave, Emma told the dog. Thank you for showing me that words aren't scary. I think you might be magic. Rex licked her cheek in response, and Emma giggled, actually giggled, a sound her parents had heard perhaps twice in her entire life. Sophia looked at Carlos, and in that moment, they didn't need words. They were thinking the same thing. Their lives would never be the same. Today, in this park, with this dog and this kind officer, everything had changed. Emma had found her voice. And in doing so, she'd given her parents back their hope, their joy, and their dreams for their daughter's future. As the sun began to set over Portland, casting golden light across Laurelhurst Park, the Martinez family sat in the grass with Officer Thompson and Rex, just talking. Emma talked about her stuffed animals, about her favorite color, purple, about how she liked blueberry pancakes and didn't like green beans. She talked and talked and talked, making up for 3 years of silence, and nobody wanted her to stop. Not ever. Sophia's phone wouldn't stop ringing. By Sunday evening, less than 24 hours after Emma had spoken her first words to Rex, the video Sophia had captured had been viewed over 2 million times. It had started innocently enough. She'd shared it on her private Facebook page with the caption, "Our miracle happened today," tagging only close family and friends. But her cousin had shared it. Then a friend of a friend. Then someone had posted it to Twitter, then TikTok, then Instagram. By Sunday morning, the video was everywhere, accompanied by tearful emojis and comments from thousands of strangers. I'm not crying. You're crying. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. That dog is an angel. Sophia sat on her couch, Emma curled up beside her watching Bluey on TV, and scrolled through the messages flooding her inbox. There were interview requests from Good Morning America, The Today Show, and Ellen. A producer from The Kelly Clarkson Show wanted to fly the whole family to Los Angeles. CNN wanted to do a feature. Local Portland news stations had been camped outside their house since 7 a.m. "This is insane," Sophia said to Carlos, who was pacing the living room, his own phone pressed to his ear as he talked to his mother for the third time that day. "Carlos, this is completely insane. But more than the media attention, more than the viral video, what truly overwhelmed Sophia was Emma herself. Her daughter hadn't stopped talking since yesterday. It was as if 3 years of silence had created a backlog of words that now came pouring out in an unstoppable stream. "Mama, why is the sky blue?" Emma asked, not for the first time that day. "Because of the way sunlight scatters through the atmosphere, baby," Sophia answered, pulling Emma closer and kissing the top of her head. She would never, ever get tired of answering her daughter's questions. "Oh, Mama, do dogs dream?" "I think they do. Yes. What do they dream about?" "Maybe running and playing and chasing squirrels. Rex probably dreams about helping people. Because that's what he does. He helps people like me." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, something that had been happening every few minutes since yesterday. "Yes, sweetheart. Rex helps people. He helped you so much." The doorbell rang again. Carlos sighed and went to answer it, returning moments later with Dr. Patricia Chun, Emma's developmental therapist, who they'd called immediately after leaving the park yesterday. Dr. Chun was a woman in her early 50s, with short gray hair and wire-rimmed glasses. She'd been working with Emma for over a year, and Sophia had never seen her look so shocked. "I had to see it to believe it," Dr. Chun said, setting down her bag and kneeling in front of Emma. "Hello, Emma. I heard you found your voice yesterday." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "I did. Rex helped me. He's a dog. A police dog. He has kind eyes and soft fur, and he listened to me when I was scared, and then the words just came out, and they weren't scary anymore. It all came out in one breathless rush." And Dr. Chun sat back on her heels, her hand over her mouth. "Remarkable," she whispered. "Emma, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." "Thank you," Emma said politely, then returned her attention to the TV. Dr. Chun stood and motioned for Sophia and Carlos to follow her into the kitchen, out of Emma's earshot. "I've been a child psychologist for 27 years, Dr. Chun began, her voice low and intense. "I've worked with hundreds of children with selective mutism. I've seen gradual progress, small victories, incremental improvements over months and years. But I have never seen anything like this." "We don't understand it either," Carlos admitted. "We keep waiting to wake up and find out it was a dream." "It's not a dream," Dr. Chun assured them. "But we need to understand what happened, and, more importantly, how to maintain this progress. Selective mutism doesn't just disappear overnight. There's something specific about that dog, about that environment, about that moment that unlocked something in Emma's brain." She pulled out a tablet and began making notes. "Tell me everything. Every detail you can remember about yesterday." For the next hour, Sophia and Carlos recounted the entire experience, from the reluctant decision to attend the event, to Emma's unusual behavior when she saw Rex, to those first precious words, to the hours they'd spent in the park afterward, just talking. "The connection with the dog is key," Dr. Chun said, tapping her stylus against the tablet. "Dogs represent unconditional acceptance. They don't judge, don't have expectations about communication, don't criticize or correct. For a child whose anxiety is rooted in fear of judgment or saying the wrong thing, a dog is the perfect safe space." "So what do we do now?" Sophia asked. "Officer Thompson said he'd work with Emma, but we don't want to overwhelm her, or, no, you absolutely should continue with the dog," Dr. Chun interrupted. "In fact, I'd recommend intensive animal-assisted therapy sessions. We need to build on this breakthrough while the momentum is fresh. The neural pathways Emma created yesterday, the ones that allowed her to speak, We need to strengthen those through repeated positive experiences. Carlos leaned forward. What does that look like, practically? Ideally? Sessions with Rex 2 to 3 times per week, gradually introducing more variables, different locations, different people present, different social pressures. We'll use Rex as Emma's anchor, her safe base, while slowly expanding her comfort zone for verbal communication. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Officer Thompson, still in his uniform, with Rex on a leash beside him. Emma's shriek of joy could be heard throughout the house. Rex, Mama, Daddy, Rex is here. Rex came to visit me. She ran to the door, and Rex's tail began wagging so hard his entire back end moved with it. Thompson unclipped the leash, and Emma immediately wrapped her arms around the dog's neck. Hi, Rex, Emma said into his fur. I missed you. Did you miss me? I've been talking so much. I told Mama and Daddy about you. I told them you're magic. Thompson smiled at Sophia and Carlos. I hope it's okay that we stopped by. Rex has been restless all day. I swear he knew we needed to check on Emma. It's more than okay, Sophia said, wiping her eyes yet again. Come in, please. Dr. Chun is here. She's Emma's therapist. We've been discussing next steps. Over coffee at the kitchen table, while Emma sat in the living room chattering away to Rex about her stuffed animals, the adults developed a plan. Thompson would bring Rex to the Martinez home every Tuesday and Thursday evening and Saturday mornings. They'd start with simple sessions, just Emma, Rex, and gradually Sophia and Carlos joining the conversation. I talked to my captain this morning, Thompson said. After he saw the video, which, by the way, everyone at the precinct has seen, and we're all crying about it, he immediately approved Rex for therapy work. We're calling it Community Support Services. Rex is officially transitioning from active narcotics duty to full-time community outreach. Because of Emma? Carlos asked, his voice thick with emotion. Because of Emma, Thompson confirmed. But not just her. We're already getting calls from other parents of children with communication disorders, anxiety, trauma. Your daughter opened a door, Mr. Martinez. She showed us a new way our canine unit can serve the community. Dr. Chun nodded enthusiastically. This could be groundbreaking. If we can document Emma's progress, study the methodology, we could develop a model for animal-assisted therapy that could help thousands of children. Sophia felt overwhelmed. Yesterday, she just wanted to hear her daughter's voice. Now they were talking about changing therapeutic practices, helping thousands of children, appearing on national television. Can we just take it slow? Sophia asked quietly. Yesterday was a miracle, and I'm so grateful, but Emma is still just a 3-year-old girl who's been through a lot. I don't want her to become some kind of spectacle or case study or course, Dr. Chun said immediately, reaching across to squeeze Sophia's hand. Emma's well-being is the only priority. Everything else is secondary. Thompson nodded. Agreed. Rex and I are here for Emma, period. Whatever she needs, whatever pace works for her. From the living room, they heard Emma's voice, clear and animated. Rex, do you have a family? Do you have a doggy wife and doggy babies? They all smiled. She's asked approximately 800 questions today, Carlos said with a laugh. I've never been so happy to be interrogated. Over the next week, a routine emerged. Thompson brought Rex every Tuesday and Thursday after his shift, and the transformation in Emma continued. By Tuesday, she was speaking not just to Rex, but to Thompson as well, asking him about police work, about Rex's training, about everything. By Thursday, Emma's grandmother visited, and Emma Shy at first eventually told her abuela about Rex, about finding her voice, about all the things she'd wanted to say for years, but couldn't. By the following Saturday, Emma spoke to Dr. Chun directly for the first time in over a year of therapy sessions. I was always listening, Emma told her therapist, her small hand resting on Rex's back. I heard everything you said. The words wouldn't come. They were trapped. Rex showed me how to let them out. Dr. Chun documented everything meticulously, not as a detached researcher, but as someone witnessing something profound. In her notes, she wrote, "Subject demonstrates sustained verbal communication across multiple contexts and with various individuals. The presence of therapy dog appears to reduce anxiety triggers, allowing subject to maintain speech even in previously challenging situations. Progress is unprecedented. But perhaps the most touching moment came on the second Sunday, exactly 1 week after Emma's breakthrough. The Martinez family had a video call scheduled with Sophia's parents in Mexico, who hadn't been able to travel to Portland. Emma's grandparents had never heard her voice. Not once. Sophia set up the laptop, her heart pounding. Would Emma speak? It was one thing to talk in person, another to communicate through a screen with people she rarely saw. The video connected. Sophia's mother, Maria, appeared on screen, her eyes already wet with tears. "Hola, mi amor," Maria said softly to Emma. Emma looked at the screen, then at Rex, who was lying beside her as always. She took a breath. "Hola, abuela," Emma said clearly. "I can talk now. Do you want to hear about my friend Rex?" On the screen, Maria broke down completely, her hands covering her face as she sobbed. Sophia's father, Roberto, wrapped his arms around his wife, his own face crumpled with emotion. "Sí, mi vida," Maria managed to say through her tears. "Tell me everything. I want to hear everything." And Emma did. She talked for 20 minutes straight, telling her grandparents about Rex, about the park, about finding her voice, about all the things she'd always wanted to tell them but couldn't. When the call ended, Sophia looked at Carlos, and they both looked at Rex, this remarkable dog who had somehow, impossibly, given them their daughter's voice. "How do we ever thank you enough?" Sophia asked Thompson, who had stayed for the video call. Thompson reached down and scratched Rex behind the ears. "You just did," he said simply. Seeing Emma flourish, that's all the thanks we need. Emma crawled into Sophia's lap, tired from talking so much. "Mama," she said sleepily, "can Rex come to my birthday party?" Sophia laughed through her tears. "Baby, Rex can come to every birthday party for the rest of your life." "Good," Emma murmured, her eyes drifting closed. "He's family now." And he was. In just 1 week, Rex had become an essential part of their lives. The bridge between silence and sound, the gentle giant who had given a little girl her voice and a family their dreams back. The miracle wasn't over. It was just beginning. 3 months had passed since that transformative Saturday in June, and the Martinez living room had become a place of miracles. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, like clockwork, Officer Derek Thompson's patrol car would pull up to their modest Portland home, and Emma would press her face against the window, her breath fogging the glass as she waited for Rex to emerge. "He's here. Mama, Daddy, Rex is here," Emma would shout, and no matter how many times Sophia heard her daughter's voice, it never failed to make her catch her breath with gratitude. By September, the transformation in Emma was nothing short of breathtaking. The little girl who had lived in silence for 3 years was now a chatterbox who narrated her entire day, asked questions about everything from why leaves changed colors to whether clouds had feelings, and sang made-up songs at the top of her lungs. But it was during her sessions with Rex that Emma truly blossomed. On a Tuesday evening in mid-September, Thompson arrived to find Emma waiting on the front porch, a picture book clutched in her small hands. She'd been enrolled in preschool just 2 weeks earlier, something Sophia and Carlos never thought would be possible. "Rex!" Emma called out, running down the porch steps as Thompson opened the rear door of his vehicle. The German shepherd bounded out, his tail wagging with such enthusiasm that Thompson had to steady himself. Emma threw her arms around Rex's neck in their now familiar greeting. "I learned to read a new word today," she told the dog excitedly. "The word is friend, friend. That's you. You're my best friend in the whole world." Rex responded by licking her cheek, and Emma dissolved into giggles, a sound that still made Thompson's heart swell every time he heard it dot inside. Sophia had prepared lemonade and cookies, a ritual that had developed over the weeks. These sessions had evolved from structured therapy into something more organic, more natural. Emma would talk to Rex about her day, her fears, her dreams, and somehow, the dog always seemed to understand. "Tell Officer Thompson about school," Sophia encouraged, settling onto the couch while Emma sat cross-legged on the floor. Rex lying beside her, Emma's face grew serious. "There's a boy named Marcus. He's really loud, and sometimes he makes me feel scared." But I remembered what Rex taught me. Thompson leaned forward, intrigued. Emma often spoke as if Rex had taught her specific lessons, though of course the dog had never spoken a word. "What did Rex teach you?" "That brave doesn't mean not scared," Emma said, her hand stroking Rex's fur in that rhythmic way that seemed to calm both of them. "Brave means being scared, but doing the thing anyway. Rex is brave. He goes into scary places to help people, but I bet he gets scared sometimes too. Right, Rex?" Rex's tail thumped against the floor, and Emma nodded as if he'd answered her. "So what did you do about Marcus?" Thompson asked gently. "I used my words," Emma said with unmistakable pride. "I said, 'Marcus, you're being too loud, and it makes me uncomfortable. Please use your inside voice.' And you know what? He did. He said sorry, and he was quieter after that." Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. Emma hadn't told her about this incident. 3 months ago, Emma wouldn't have been able to attend school at all. 6 months ago, she couldn't speak. And now she was advocating for herself, setting boundaries, using her voice not just to communicate, but to shape her environment. "Emma, that's incredible," Thompson said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so proud of you." "Rex is proud too," Emma said confidently. "I can tell by his eyes. See how they're all soft and happy? That's his proud face." Over the following weeks, Thompson witnessed Emma's confidence grow exponentially. She started reading to Rex simple picture books at first, then progressing to easy readers. She'd sit with the big dog, his head resting on her lap, and sound out words carefully, never frustrated when she stumbled, because Rex never judged. "Cat, cat," Emma would announce triumphantly, and Rex's tail would wag as if he was genuinely impressed. By October, Emma's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, requested a meeting with Sophia and Carlos. Sophia's stomach had churned with anxiety. All morning meetings with teachers had historically meant bad news, discussions about Emma's limitations, suggestions for additional interventions. But Mrs. Rodriguez was beaming when they entered her classroom. "Emma is thriving," the teacher said without preamble. "I wanted to show you something." She pulled out a piece of construction paper covered in Emma's careful printing. The assignment had been to draw and write about my hero. Emma had drawn a picture of a large brown and black dog with pointed ears. Beside it, in wobbly letters, she'd written, "My hero is Rex. He is a Polish dog. He helped me find my voice. Now I can talk to everyone. Rex is brave and kind. I want to be like him when I grow up." Sophia couldn't see the paper through her tears. Carlos had to take it from Mrs. Rodriguez's hands because Sophia's were shaking too badly. "Every child in the class wanted to hear about Rex," Mrs. Rodriguez continued. Emma stood up in front of everyone, 23 children and myself, and told the entire story of how Rex helped her find her voice. She wasn't scared. She didn't hesitate. She spoke clearly and proudly, and by the end, half the class was crying, including me. She did public speaking? Carlos asked incredulously. Our Emma? In front of the whole class? Not just that, Mrs. Rodriguez said. She's become something of a leader. Other shy children gravitate toward her. Yesterday, I saw her comforting a new student who was crying. Emma sat with her, held her hand, and said, "It's okay to be scared. I used to be scared too. But you can be brave. I can teach you." It was one of the most beautiful things I've witnessed in 15 years of teaching. That evening, when Thompson arrived with Rex, Sophia and Carlos showed him Emma's drawing and told him about Mrs. Rodriguez's report. Thompson studied the drawing for a long moment, his jaw working as he struggled to maintain his composure. Rex sat beside him, as if sensing the emotional weight of the moment. "Can I keep this?" Thompson asked quietly. "I'd like to hang it at the station. I think the other officers would love to see it." "It's yours," Sophia said. "You and Rex have given us so much more than we could ever repay." Emma, who had been watching this exchange with curious eyes, suddenly stood up and walked over to Thompson. She looked up at him seriously, her small face solemn. "Officer Thompson," she said formally, and Thompson crouched down to her level. "Thank you for sharing Rex with me. I know he's your partner, and you probably miss him when he's here. But he saved my life. He gave me my voice back. That's the most important thing anyone has ever done for me." Thompson's eyes filled with tears. "Emma, sweetheart, Rex and I are honored to be part of your life. You've given us something too. You've shown us that our work matters in ways we never imagined." Emma considered this, then threw her arms around Thompson's neck, hugging him fiercely. "You're my hero too," she whispered. "Both of you." The months continued to pass, each bringing new milestones. Emma's 4th birthday party in December was attended by 20 children from her preschool class, a party that would have been impossible 6 months earlier. Rex was the guest of honor, wearing a special birthday bandana that Emma had decorated herself with glitter and stick-on gems. Emma sang "Happy Birthday" to herself, standing on a chair and belting out the words with unself-conscious joy. The other children joined in, and Sophia recorded it all, tears streaming down her face as she captured this moment that once seemed impossible. But perhaps the most significant moment came on a cold Thursday evening in late December. Snow was falling softly outside, and Emma sat curled up with Rex on the living room floor, watching the flakes drift past the window. "Rex," Emma said quietly, her voice thoughtful in a way that made everyone in the room pause. "Before I met you, I had so many words inside me, stories and questions and feelings. But they were all trapped, like birds in a cage. I could see them and hear them in my mind, but they couldn't get out. It hurt, keeping them inside." She turned to look at the dog, her eyes wise beyond her 4 years. "But you opened the cage, Rex. You showed me that the world was safe enough for my words. And now they're free, like birds flying everywhere. And I'm free too." Thompson, who had been standing by the door, preparing to leave, sat down heavily on the couch. Carlos wrapped his arm around Sophia as she wept quietly. Emma didn't notice the adult's emotional response. She was too busy telling Rex about the snowflake she'd made in art class, about the book Mrs. Rodriguez had read about penguins, about the friend she'd made named Maya, who had curly red hair. The words flowed freely, easily, joyfully, a river that had finally found its path to the sea. Rex listened to every word, his head tilted slightly, his eyes attentive and kind, fulfilling the purpose he'd found that June day in the park, to be the gentle giant who gave a little girl her voice and, in doing so, taught everyone around him about the healing power of unconditional love and patience. As Thompson drove home that night, Rex in the back seat, he thought about Emma's metaphor of birds in a cage. It was profound, the kind of insight that came from someone who had truly suffered and truly healed. He reached back and scratched Rex's ears. "You're a good boy," he said softly. "The best boy. You've changed lives, partner. Starting with Emma's, but not ending there. Not by a long shot." Rex's tail thumped against the seat, and Thompson smiled. Their work together was just beginning. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning in January 2024. 7 months after Emma had spoken her first words to Rex, Sophia was drinking coffee at her kitchen table, half watching Emma draw pictures of dogs at the dining table, when her phone chimed with a notification that would change everything once. Again, the subject line read, "Thank you for giving us hope." Sophia opened it, expecting another generic message from someone who'd seen the viral video. Instead, she found herself reading a message from a mother in Austin, Texas, named Rebecca Chun, whose 6-year-old son Michael had never spoken a word. "I've tried everything," Rebecca wrote. "Every therapy, every specialist, every intervention known to modern medicine. My son is locked inside himself, and I was losing hope that I'd ever hear his voice. Then I saw your video. I saw Emma speak to Rex, and I saw myself in your tears. I saw my pain reflected in your joy. My husband and I found a therapy dog program here in Austin. Yesterday, Michael met a golden retriever named Sunny, and he spoke. He said, 'Good dog,' 2 words. The first words of his life. We wept for hours. Thank you for sharing your story. You gave us permission to hope again." Sophia read the email 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Carlos found her like that, clutching her phone and crying. "What's wrong?" he asked, alarmed. "Nothing's wrong," Sophia managed. "Everything's right. Read this." Over the following weeks, more emails arrived. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Parents from across America and around the world, all with similar stories. A mother in London whose daughter spoke after meeting a therapy dog. A father in Tokyo whose son had been mute for 4 years until a Shiba Inu named Hiro sat patiently beside him. A grandmother in Sydney whose autistic grandson said his first sentence to a border collie. Emma's story had sparked something, not just hope, but action. The Portland Police Department's phone lines lit up with requests. Could they start a formal therapy program? Could other departments replicate what Rex had done? Captain Morrison, Thompson's supervisor, called an emergency meeting with Thompson, the Martinez family, and Dr. Patricia Chun. "We have an opportunity here," Captain Morrison said, spreading documents across the conference table. "We've received inquiries from 43 police departments across the country, 17 therapy centers, and 12 research hospitals. Everyone wants to know how to replicate what happened with Emma and Rex." Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Captain, with respect, I don't know if what happened with Emma can be replicated. It was spontaneous, organic. Rex connected with her in a way that can't be manufactured." "I understand," Morrison interrupted gently. "But we can create programs that give other children the opportunity for that connection to happen. We can train more canine officers in therapy techniques. We can partner with schools and hospitals. Derek, what happened in that park 7 months ago showed us a new way to serve our community." Sophia leaned forward. "What are you proposing?" "A pilot program," Morrison said. "We call it Pause for Voices. I know, not the most original name, but it tests well. We partner K9 units with children who have communication disorders, anxiety, trauma, or other challenges. We document the outcomes, develop best practices, and create a model that other departments can follow." "Would Rex be part of this?" Emma asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. They'd almost forgotten she was there, sitting in the corner with a coloring book. Morrison smiled at her. Emma, Rex would be the lead dog. He'd help train other dogs and their handlers. But he'd still work with you too. You're his first success story. Emma considered this seriously. Okay, but only if Rex wants to. He should get to choose. As if on cue, Rex, who was lying at Emma's feet, raised his head and gave a soft woof. I think that's a yes, Thompson said with a laugh. The program launched in February 2024. Thompson became the director. Working reduced patrol hours to focus on training 5 other K-9 teams in therapy techniques. They learned what Thompson had observed with Rex and Emma: patience. Allowing the child to initiate contact, creating a judgment-free space. Reading subtle cues and body language. The first child in the official program was a 5-year-old girl named Lily, who hadn't spoken since witnessing a traumatic event 2 years earlier. She met a Labrador retriever named Duke on a February morning that was cold but sunny. Sophia and Emma attended as observers, at Lily's mother's request. She saw Emma's video, Lily's mother explained. She pointed at the screen and signed me too. She wants what Emma has. Lily approached Duke cautiously, her small frame tense with anxiety. Duke, trained by Thompson, using everything he'd learned from Rex, sat perfectly still, his brown eyes gentle and welcoming. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Lily circled Duke, studying him from every angle. Duke didn't move, didn't push, just existed in peaceful patience. Then Lily reached out and touched Duke's head. Duke's tail wagged slowly, and Lily snatched her hand back, startled. But then she touched him again, letting her fingers sink into his soft yellow fur. "Hi," Lily whispered, so quietly that everyone in the room held their breath to hear. "Hi, doggy." Lily's mother collapsed in sobs. Emma, sitting beside Sophia, squeezed her mother's hand and smiled. "See?" Emma whispered. Rex showed them the way. By March, the program had helped 12 children find their voices or make significant progress in communication. The stories varied. Some children spoke immediately, like Emma had. Others needed weeks of sessions before managing a single word. But every story was a miracle to the family living it. The media coverage intensified. Good Morning America finally got their interview, flying the Martinez family, Thompson, and Rex to New York. Robin Roberts sat on the floor of the studio, petting Rex while Emma explained, with remarkable poise for a 4-year-old, how Rex had helped her. "He didn't push me," Emma told Robin earnestly. "He just waited. He showed me that I could trust the world with my words. That's the most important thing anyone ever did for me." The segment aired on a Wednesday morning and was viewed by 18 million people. By noon, the Portland Police Department had received over 2,000 emails and calls. But it wasn't just police departments paying attention. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University reached out to study the neurological aspects of animal-assisted therapy for selective mutism. Stanford wanted to document the program's outcomes. The American Psychological Association invited Dr. Chun to present at their annual conference. "This is becoming bigger than us," Carlos said one evening as they sat in their living room, surrounded by letters and emails from families around the world. "No," Sophia corrected gently. "It's exactly as big as it needs to be." Emma's voice was trapped for 3 years. Now she's helping free other children's voices. That's not too big. That's perfect. Emma, overhearing this conversation from where she was playing with Rex on the floor, looked up. "Mama, can we help all the kids who can't talk?" "We can try, baby," Sophia said. "Then we should," Emma declared with the certainty of someone who had lived through darkness and found light. Nobody should have to live without their voice. It's too sad. Right, Rex? Rex barked in agreement, and Emma hugged him tightly. The foundation idea emerged from these conversations. The Emma and Rex Foundation for Children's Communication was officially established in April 2024, with a mission to provide animal-assisted therapy to children with communication disorders. Regardless of their family's ability to pay, Sophia and Carlos became full-time directors, working with Thompson and Dr. Chun to expand the program. They raised funds through speaking engagements, donations from the viral video's viewers, and grants from organizations impressed by their early results. By summer, they'd helped 47 children across Oregon and Washington. 15 police departments in 12 states had launched similar programs, using Emma and Rex's story as their model. A girl in Miami spoke for the first time to a retired police dog named Justice. A boy in Chicago overcame his trauma-induced mutism with a therapy dog named Hope. Twin sisters in Philadelphia, both diagnosed with selective mutism, found their voices together while sitting with a German shepherd named Grace. Each success story found its way back to the Martinez family. Each letter, each email, each tearful phone call from grateful parents reminded Sophia why they'd chosen to share Emma's story despite the loss of privacy. Despite the overwhelming attention, one letter from a father in Denver particularly moved her. "You don't know me, but you saved my family. My daughter hadn't spoken in 3 years. We were drowning in medical bills and hopelessness. Then we saw your video. We found a therapy dog program in our city. Last week, my daughter said, 'I love you, Daddy,' for the first time in her life. She's 7 years old. I'm a 43-year-old man, and I sobbed like a baby. Your family's courage to share your story gave us the courage to try one more thing. That one more thing changed everything." Sophia pinned that letter to the refrigerator, right next to Emma's drawing of Rex. On a warm evening in July, exactly 1 year after that fateful day in Laurelhurst Park, the Portland Police Department held a ceremony honoring Rex and Thompson. The mayor presented Rex with a special commendation, the first ever given to a canine specifically for therapy work. Emma, wearing her favorite purple dress, was invited to speak. Sophia had asked her several times if she was nervous about addressing a crowd of over 300 people. "No, Mama," Emma had replied simply. "Rex will be there. I'm never scared when Rex is there." Emma stood at the podium on a box so she could reach the microphone, with Rex sitting beside her in his formal canine vest, and spoke with clarity and confidence. "1 year ago, I couldn't talk," Emma began. "I had words inside me, but they were too scared to come out. Then I met Rex, and he showed me that the world was safe. He showed me that my words mattered. Now I can talk to everyone, my mama and daddy, my teachers, my friends, and all of you." She paused, looking down at Rex, who gazed up at her with those kind, patient eyes. "Rex didn't just give me my voice," Emma continued. "He taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is be patient with someone who's scared. Thank you, Rex, for being my hero. Thank you for teaching me to be brave." The crowd rose in a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. Rex's tail wagged steadily throughout, and Emma beamed with pride not for herself, but for her best friend, the gentle giant who had changed her life and through her, touched thousands more. Sophia stood in her backyard, watching the chaos of a child's birthday party unfold with a sense of wonder that hadn't diminished, even after 18 months of hearing her daughter's voice. 30 children from Emma's kindergarten class ran through the yard, their laughter and shouts filling the cold afternoon air. Streamers in purple and gold, Emma's chosen colors, hung from the trees, and a table groaned under the weight of presents wrapped in bright paper. But Emma wasn't with the other children. She stood by the back gate, watching the driveway with intense focus, barely touching the cupcake in her hand. "He'll be here, sweetie," Carlos said, crouching beside his daughter. Officer Thompson promised. I know, Emma said, but her eyes never left the driveway. I just can't start my party without Rex. He's the most important person. I mean dog. I mean ... She paused, thinking. He's the most important anyone in my whole life. Except you and Mama. Carlos pulled her into a hug, his throat tight. Even now, after countless conversations, after hundreds of sentences and thousands of words, hearing Emma speak so freely still made him emotional. The sound of a car door slamming made Emma gasp. He's here. Rex is here. She dropped her cupcake, something that would have horrified her younger self, and ran toward the gate. Thompson appeared, and beside him, wearing a special birthday bandana that read, Party Animal in glitter letters, was Rex. Rex Sax. Emma's squeal of joy could probably be heard 3 blocks away. The German Shepherd, now 8 years old and officially retired from active duty to work full-time in therapy, bounded toward Emma with the enthusiasm of a puppy. They met in the middle of the yard, in their signature embrace, Emma's arms around his neck, Rex's head tucked over her shoulder. Happy birthday, Emma, Thompson said, his eyes crinkling with warmth. Rex has been excited about this all week. I swear he knows what birthdays mean now. Emma pulled back from Rex to beam at Thompson. Did you bring the surprise? The one you told Mama about? I did. Thompson pulled out an envelope from his jacket pocket. But you have to open it in front of everyone. 20 minutes later, after pizza and games and the organized chaos that comes with 35-year-olds hopped up on sugar, Sophia gathered everyone around for presents. Emma sat on a chair in the center of the circle, Rex lying at her feet like a furry guardian. As she opened gifts, dolls, books, art supplies, all received with genuine gratitude and excitement. But when Thompson handed her the envelope, Emma went quiet. She looked at it, then at Rex, then at her parents. This is from Rex? She asked softly. From Rex and all the kids he's helped because of you, Thompson said. Go ahead. Open it. With careful fingers, Emma opened the envelope and pulled out a piece of paper. It was covered in handwritten notes, drawings, and photographs. Sophia, reading over her daughter's shoulder, felt tears spring to her eyes immediately. It was a collage of messages from the 83. Children who had found their voices or made breakthrough. Progress through the Pause for Voices program and the Emma and Rex Foundation. Each child had contributed something, a drawing, a note, a photograph with their therapy dog. Dear Emma, the first note read in careful printing, My name is Michael. I'm 6. I didn't talk until I met Sunny the dog. Thank you for showing everyone that dogs can help. Now I can tell my mommy I love her. Your friend, Michael. Another note in purple crayon. Hi, Emma. I'm Lily. Duke helped me talk like Rex helped you. I saw your video with my mom, and it made me want to try. Thank you for being brave first. Love, Lily. There were dozens more from children in Portland, Seattle, Austin, Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles. Even from London and Tokyo, each one a testament to how Emma's single moment of courage had cascaded into a movement that had changed lives across the world. Emma read each note slowly, her lips moving as she sounded out the words. The party guessed the children too young to fully understand, but the parents who knew Emma's story watched in reverent silence. When Emma finished reading, she looked up at Thompson with eyes swimming in tears. All these kids can talk now? Because of Rex? Because of me? Because of both of you, Thompson said, his own voice thick. You showed them it was possible. You gave them hope. Emma set the collage down carefully and stood up. She walked to the center of the circle, Rex following her as he always did, and turned to face all the parents and children gathered for her party. Can I say something? She asked, her voice clear and strong. Of course, Mia, Sophia said. Emma took a deep breath, her small hand resting on Rex's head. When I was 3, I couldn't talk. I wanted to, so much. I had so many things to say, but the words wouldn't come out. I was so sad and so scared all the time. My mama cried a lot. My daddy tried to make me talk, but he couldn't. Nobody could help me. She paused, gathering her thoughts like the articulate, thoughtful child she'd become. Then I met Rex, and Rex didn't try to make me talk. He just loved me. He listened even though I wasn't saying anything. He made me feel safe. And when I finally talked, it was because I wanted to tell him thank you. I wanted him to know that he was special. Emma's voice wavered slightly, but she pushed on. Now, there are lots of kids who can talk because of Rex, because he showed everyone that sometimes people just need someone to be patient with them, someone to love them, even when they're scared, someone to wait for them to be ready. She knelt down beside Rex, wrapping her arms around him. Rex, you saved my life. You gave me my voice. And then you helped save lots of other kids' lives too. You're not just my hero. You're a hero to so many people. Rex, as if understanding the gravity of the moment, rested his head on Emma's shoulder. The backyard was completely silent, except for the sound of sniffling as nearly every adult present wiped their eyes. Emma wasn't finished. She stood up again, addressing the children now. If any of you are ever scared to do something, or if you know someone who can't talk or is really shy, remember Rex. Remember that being patient and kind can change everything. That's what Rex taught me. That's what I want everyone to know. The children burst into applause, not really understanding, but caught up in the emotion of the moment. The adults' applause was slower, heavier, weighted with the understanding of just how profound Emma's words were. Sophia pulled Carlos close, both of them crying openly now. Their daughter, their beautiful, brave daughter who had lived in silence for 3 years, was now speaking words of wisdom that moved grown adults to tears. After the party, after the guests had left and the yard was quiet again, the Martinez family sat on their porch with Thompson and Rex. Emma was exhausted, curled up between her parents, but her hand never left Rex's fur. Do you remember that day in the park? Sophia asked Thompson quietly. When Emma first spoke to Rex? Every detail, Thompson said. I don't think I'll ever forget it. The way Rex reacted to her, the way Emma's whole face changed, her first words. It's burned into my memory. I was so hopeless that morning, Sophia admitted. I didn't want to go. I thought it would be another disappointment. I'd almost given up. But you didn't, Carlos said, squeezing her hand. You let me drag you to that park. You let Emma try one more thing. And that one more thing changed everything, Emma murmured sleepily. Rex changed everything. Thompson looked down at his partner, this remarkable dog who had found a purpose beyond narcotics detection and police work. Rex had become something more, a healer, a bridge between silence and speech, a teacher of patience and unconditional love. You know, Thompson said, when I joined the K9 unit, I thought the important work was catching bad guys, finding drugs, protecting the public in visible ways. And that stuff matters. But this, he gestured to Emma, this is the most important work Rex and I have ever done. This is the work that will outlive both of us. The foundation has funding for the next 5 years, Carlos said. We're expanding to 15 more states. The model you and Dr. Chun developed is being taught to therapy dog handlers across the country. Emma's story is going to help thousands of children. Not just children, Sophia added. Adults too. We've had inquiries from veterans with PTSD, abuse survivors with trauma-induced communication issues, elderly patients with dementia. Everyone wants to know if therapy dogs can help them the way Rex helped Emma. Thompson smiled. Rex is going to need an assistant soon. He's getting famous requests. Emma, who they thought was asleep, opened her eyes. Rex doesn't care about being famous, she said wisely. He just cares about helping people. That's what makes him special. She sat up, looking at her parents and Thompson with sudden seriousness. When I grow up, I want to work with therapy dogs. I want to help other kids like Rex helped me. I want to be there for someone who's scared and can't talk. I want to tell them that it's going to be okay, that they'll find their voice too. Sophia's heart swelled so large, she thought it might burst. You can be anything you want to be, Emma. You've already proven that. I know, Emma said simply. Rex taught me that. He taught me that anything is possible if someone believes in you. As the sun set over Portland, casting long shadows across the yard, Emma made one final birthday wish, not over candles, but whispered into Rex's soft ear where only he could hear. Thank you, she told him. Thank you for waiting for me. Thank you for showing me that my voice matters. Thank you for loving me when I couldn't love myself. You're magic, Rex, real magic. Rex's tail thumped gently against the porch, and in his dark, knowing eyes, there seemed to be an understanding that transcended the barrier between species. He knew he was special. He knew what he'd done. And he knew that this little girl, once trapped in silence, was now free to speak her truth to the world. The story that had begun with a 3-year-old's first whispered words to a police dog had evolved into something far greater, a testament to patience, compassion, and the extraordinary healing that happens when two beings connect at exactly the right moment. Emma had found her voice. But more than that, she'd found her purpose. And Rex, the gentle giant with kind eyes, had found his legacy, not in the criminals he'd helped catch, but in the children he'd helped heal. As darkness fell and the family finally went inside, Rex remained on the porch for a moment, looking out at the quiet neighborhood. Somewhere in the world, another child was struggling to speak. Another family was losing hope. Another miracle was waiting to happen. And because of one dog and one brave little girl, the world now knew that sometimes the most profound changes come not from force or pressure, but from patience, presence, and unconditional love. The silence had been broken. The voice had been found. And the ripple effects would continue for generations to come. This was their legacy. This was their gift to the world. And it all started with 3 simple words whispered to a dog in a park. He's a good boy.